and ladies of the night realm. I have missed you. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, everyone. Hello, Tanya. How are you? So good to have everyone back tonight. You have been missed terribly. Hello, hello, hello. There we go. Oop, 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 oop. I did not mean to do that. Hello there, Cece. Hello. Hello, Rachel. Hello, Nikki. I miss you. Hey, Wolves Whisper. Hello, Corey. I did, Corey, at the ocean, at the beach, and it was incredible. Loved it, loved it, loved it. I like that piece. I'll do that instead. Hello, Kingfisher. Hello, Eric Jones. Oh, it was incredible. It was absolutely incredible. It was exactly what I needed. Hey, Just. Hello, Lance. Hey, Judy. Absolutely cannot go wrong with it, ever. Hey, Kimmy. Oh, thank you, Kingfisher. Hey, Palm. Hello, Mia. Hey, Wolves Whisper. Hello, Brenda. How are you? Hello, Rachel. Thank you for the warm welcome. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Hey, Julie. So good to be back with all of my night dwellers. I can promise you though, there was not a day that did not pass that I did not remember you all. Missed you all terribly. Hey, Roxy. Oh my goodness, it feels like a long awaited reunion, doesn't it? We have been having temperatures here in the high 90s. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to wear my hair up tonight, but we're down. But I'm sure that everyone will understand. You don't want the queen to pass out. Hey, Penny. Hey, Shirley. Absolutely. thank you so much. It's just me for liking them live. Let's go ahead and come back in with a bang. If you will go ahead and share this live with 5 friends, 10 friends, 15, 20. Just go ahead and share it with them if you would. Look at you all coming back in. Hey, Buddha J, how are you? Let me get on YouTube here and see who we have. Turn down the volume. Hello, Kimmy. Hello, Noah. Can you stand up? Well, that's completely up to you, my dear. Hello, XJ. Oh, thank you, Robbie. This is one of my favorites. Let me stand up and show everyone the gown. Now this gown is very special because this was a gift from Leslie Marie. It is black and it is exquisite. And along with that, I was given this beautiful shawl and it's just lovely. It is long, it goes all the way to the floor. Leslie Marie, you didn't tell me that it had pockets. I adore pockets. Isn't she pretty? Quite lovely. Black. I was overjoyed when I received it. Isn't it lovely? Gorgeous details. I'll see if I can lift it up a little bit more, but you can see the exquisite details on the gown. But it's lighter than air. It's amazing, absolutely amazing. We will get started in 5 minutes. Hello, Leslie. I was just talking about you. Oh, thank you, legend. It is Monday night. Did you happen to see the content, the videos that were posted tonight, all day long? Lady Julie, Lady X, Lady Kimmy have worked so hard to deliver top content. So if you watched it, then you know what tonight's story is about. Hello, Melinda, how are you? New stickers, yes. Oh, it's amazing. I drank so much water today. It is insane. Robbie, thank you for sharing the live, my dear. If you are brand new here, and you like scary stories, paranormal stories, ghost stories, true crime, serial unalivers, urban legends, cryptids, horror. If you like all of that, hit that follow button if you wish, and the notification bell, and never miss another Twisted Tales. Hey there, Truth! How are you? Hello and welcome back. Oh, Sherman, you should be. Into tapping, tap to the beat. Just let us know. This is a warm, safe, loving, welcome community. No judgment here. We want you to come in and enjoy yourself for the next 2-ish hours as I tell you a scary story. The question is, do you like scary stories? I actually was working on the library when I was on vacation, providing new music for my night release. We'll go to 8:20 and then we'll start the story. Hello, Corey. Corey, do you like scary stories? Hello, Lucy. How are you, darling? Let us show you. Welcome. Come on in, make yourselves at home. I do hope that while I was gone, that others were on vacation and that you came back rested and ready. Hello, Siamese. How are you? You love it? So do I. One minute. Good to see you, Carissa. No, Corey, this is one of the best water bottles that I've ever had. It just has this little attachment here. It's by Coldest. Coldest is a great company for water bottles. I think this one will last forever. Hey, Pamela. Hey, James Ward. All right. It is time. Welcome, my beloved night dwellers, for another descent into the shadows. Tonight we journey to the mountains of West Virginia, where the veil between life and death grew so terribly thin that justice itself reached back from beyond the grave. How? You're about to find out. But first, let's go into story mode, shall we? Relax. Light a candle for ambiance. Lock your doors. Pull your curtains nice and tight. Wrap yourself in your warmest blanket to avoid the chills that are about to enter your room. And let's begin with the Greenbrier Ghost. Welcome to the night realm. I am the Night Queen. You are my night dwellers. Let's begin. not merely a ghost story, my dark ones. Oh no. This is the tale of Zona Hister Shu, a young woman whose love turned to terror, whose death became legend, and whose spirit refused to rest until the truth was carved into the very soul of American justice. For this is the only case, you heard me, the only case in the United States legal history where testimony from the dead was accepted in a court of law. So settle deeper into the darkness. Let the shadows embrace you as we witness a love story that became a nightmare. A marriage that sadly became a tomb. And a ghost that became an avenger. The year was 1896. The place was Greenbrier County, West Virginia, and the unalived, well, they were about to speak. Chapter 1, The Stranger's Arrival. The autumn of 1895 brought more than falling leaves to the mountain community of Livesay's Mill. It brought something else. It brought Edward Stribling Shue, a man whose very presence seemed to shift the air around him, like smoke following fire. There's something about that man's eyes, whispered Sarah Jones to her neighbor as they watched the newcomer ride through town on his ebony black horse. His eyes looked too dark, shifty, too strange. I can't quite place my finger on it, but something's wrong with it. Edward Shue was handsome in the way that draws mouths to flame. Have you ever met anyone like that? Night dwellers. Tall, well-dressed, with a smile that could melt winter ice. But the mountain folk had lived long enough to know that some smiles hide teeth, and some teeth are meant for tearing. He claimed to be a blacksmith, though his hands were far too soft for honest work. He spoke of opportunities in the growing railroad towns, though his pockets seemed heavy already with coin. And when he looked at the young women of Livesay's Mill, his gaze lingered like a predator selecting his prey. He was invited to a church social. So what brings you to Livesay's, Edward? Edward responded, charmingly. I've come to make a new life, he told the locals. His voice was smooth as creek water over stones. A man needs a fresh start sometimes, don't you think? And, well, your mountains are beautiful. Your scenery is beautiful. The young ladies begin to blush. And your young women are beautiful. They laughed goodishly. What they didn't know, what they couldn't know, was that Edward Shue had already lived 2 lives, 2 marriages, 2 wives that had, well, met their maker under circumstances that would have made angels weep. Let's go back to that first life, shall we? The first wife, back in Pocahontas County, had died of natural causes, they said. The second had fallen down the stairs. Such a tragic accident. Folks murmured, such a young, beautiful woman to meet such an end. Falling down the stairs. They didn't know that she was so clumsy. But Edward Shue smiled at their sympathy and counted his inheritance money. You see, Edward Shue was very careful the flowers he picked out of the garden. Already planning his next move in a game where he held all the cards. Or so he thought. For in the mountains of West Virginia, the unalive don't always stay buried. And some games, well, some games have rules that even the devil doesn't know. Chapter 2, The Courtship of Zona Hester. I have a question for you. How does evil disguise itself as love? Tell me what you think in the comments. So now we go to Zona Hester. She was 23 years old and beautiful as a spring morning when Edward Shue first laid his eyes on her. He was captivated. He always went for the prettiest girls in town, and Zona was lovely. She had raven black hair that caught the light like silk, eyes the color of forest pools, a deep blue-green, and a laugh that can make the hardest heart skip a beat. Zona, where are you headed? Well, I was asked to go for a walk along the river, and by who? By Edward Shue, of course, Mother. I don't approve of that. I know, but Mama, the men here are, well, not exactly what I want, and Zona, my darling, darling girl, her mother, Mary Jane Hester, warned, clutching her daughter's hands in the dim light of the living room. The fireplace lit up her beautiful cheekbones. There's something about that man. Something that makes my very bones ache. I don't want you to go out with him. Stay here. I'll find you a good Christian man. Mona, slim pickings here. Especially since the war. I just don't. Promise me that you'll be careful with him. Of course I will. If I sense anything bad about him, I'll let you know. All right. Zona was young and hungry for love. Tired of the isolation of the mountain life and dreaming of the wider world beyond the hills. She didn't want coal miners. She wanted a man who could give her what she wanted. Trips around the world. The most beautiful dresses that money could buy from Paris. And she deserved it, right? When Edward Shue came calling with his silver tongue and promise of a life filled with excitement, she was ready to listen. They walked along the riverbank. There was a chill in the air. Edward took off his jacket after a nice dinner in town and wrapped it around her shoulders. I hope that you won't consider me too forward, but you are the most beautiful woman that I believe I've ever seen. He whispered to her, and as the moonlight shone down full on the two lovers, he lifted her chin and placed a gentle kiss on her lips. Zona sighed. I'm shaking. Just like in my romance novels. It really is true, isn't it? You are my knight in shining armor, Edward Shue. Let me prove it to you. I could give you everything that your heart desires, Zona. I'll give you the finest house in town. I'll give you the prettiest dresses from Paris. If Paris is what you want, Paris is what you'll get, my dear. I'll give you a life of comfort and ease. Well, what about children? We've got plenty of time for that. Tell me, he asked, his fingers trailing along her slender, graceful neck. What would you do for love, Zona? How far would you go? Zona stopped and pulled back as the wind whispered through the trees. Did you hear my question? Zona wasn't hearing Edward Shue at that moment, though. She heard her mother's voice. There's something about him. I don't trust him. Zona, are you gonna leave me hanging? Can I talk to Mama first? Of course. Her mother still did not approve, but the courtship was swift and intense. Edward showered her and Zona with gifts, a silver locket, silk ribbons, perfume that smelled of jasmine and secrets. He brought flowers to her mother every time that he arrived to pick her up with a date. He spoke of his business prospects, his plans for the future, his deep and abiding love for Zona. The three sat in the parlor one night, and in front of Zona and her mother, Edward rose from the couch. He got down on one knee, not in front of Zona, but her mother. Get up from there. You don't have to do this. But I do. I've been searching my whole life for a woman like your daughter, he told her, somehow making his eyes seem to mist with tears. Zona clasped her chest. Oh. Really? Did you say that to your two wives as well, Mr. Shue? My previous wives, ma'am, they were practice. Mistakes. You and Zona, your daughter, she's my destiny. The way that he said previous wives should have sent chills down Zona's spine, but it wasn't chills that went down her spine. It was her mother. It was the casual dismissal of those who had come before. Should have been a warning enough. But love, they say, is blind, and sometimes blindness is fatal. Mary Jane Hester went up to Zona's bedroom that night after Edward had left. Zona was upset because when he asked for Zona's hand in marriage, Mary said, I want no part of it. I leave the decision up to you, Zona. Mother, I'm gonna go to bed now. See yourself out, Mr. Shue. Mary Jane Hester watched her daughter fall deeper under Edward's spell with growing dread. Zona gushed at church about the gold band that he had showed her in the shop window. Mary prayed every night for guidance, for protection, for some sign that her fears were unfounded, that Zona was not walking into a trap. But it seemed that this entity that she prayed to was saving intervention for much, much later. So 3 months to the day of the meeting, Zona said yes, without any hesitation. They were married on a cold December day in 1895, with dark clouds gathering overhead, and a wind that seemed to whisper warnings only the dead could hear. The wedding bells began to toll, but to Mary, they sounded like a death toll. Funeral bells. At the reception, Mary felt bad that she wasn't able to smile on her daughter's wedding day. But she just could not escape the feeling that something was wrong. The honeymoon that Edward promised would be magical. He was right about that, but not in the way that anyone expected. Chapter 3, The Newlyweds' Nightmare. Question: when does a home become a prison? The house that Edward rented for his new bride sat at the edge of town, like a watchful eye. It wasn't anything that he had promised Zona. In fact, when they returned from their honeymoon, Mary was shocked. Its windows were dark, even in daylight. Its walls thin enough to hear every whispered prayer and every muffled sob. It was an old house, dilapidated almost, the porch sagging. This wasn't what Edward had promised her daughter. When she questioned him, he said, "Well, I know what I said, but I'm working up to it, you understand. And Zona doesn't have any issue with it, so why should you? In fact, it's really not any of your business." Mary reached out to say something, and Zona pulled her back. "Don't. Please. You'll just make it worse on me." It was here that Zona Hester Shue began to discover the true nature of the man that she had married. He was cruel. He would come in from wherever he had been all day. "The stew is cold," His voice cut through the evening air like a blade. How many times must I tell you dinner is to be served at 6 o'clock, Zona? Exactly. Are you stupid? Do you not understand the instructions that I have given you? His eyes were glazed over. Zona fumbled with her apron, hands trembling as she reached for his plate. I'm sorry, Edward. I lost track of time while doing the washing. I'll heat it up for you right away. No, you won't. I'll just go to the restaurant in town. You're so... Ugh, I thought I saw something special in you. You disgust me. I promise, Edward. I'll fix it. I'll fix it. I'll make it hotter for you. I'm sorry. I'm trying to do everything I can to be the perfect wife for you. His hand shot out faster than a striking snake, gripping her wrist with bruising force. I don't want anything from you. From now on, you will do exactly as I say. And this time, you will remember that I am your husband, and that you are to submit to me with show me proper respect, as a wife is supposed to do. You didn't promise me. You didn't give me anything you promised. What did you say? The thunder rumbled in the mountains. The wind blew. I said you haven't given me anything that you promised me, Edward. You're mean. And you're cruel. I've never had a bruise on my body. It infuriated her to see the fingerprints around her wrist. She regretted saying that to Edward that night. It ended up being more than just bruises around her wrist. It had taken just weeks of them being married, and this charming suitor had transformed into something else entirely. Edward's true nature emerged like a cancer, spreading through their home with malevolent intent. He controlled every aspect of Sona's life. What she wore, where she went, who she spoke to. Her mother came and took her shopping the next Thursday and was appalled at what she saw. The bruises on Sona's back, her upper arms, her wrist, her legs. Oh my God. What has that monster done to you? Mother, please. I just can't. I just can't deal with it right now. You're going to let him punch you like you're some punching bag? Sona, I did not raise you to be like that. Let's just look at the dresses, please, Mama. Okay. Mary picked out a red fabric She told the seamstress exactly what Zona's measurements were. A few weeks later, the package arrived at her door. She was going to make it right with Edward. She had to. So she fixed her hair, applied rouge to her cheeks and her lips, and then she put on the red dress, and it was lovely. She made sure that the food was prepared and that it was warm. She walked down the stairs. Edward approached. Are you a harlot? Is that what I married? Don't let me ever see you in a color like that again. His eyes were cold as winter's stones. People will think you're trying to attract attention wearing that. You're not wearing that out of this house. But Edward, I had it made for you. Change it. And another thing, he hollered out as she climbed the stairs. Why were you talking to Miss Henderson at the market? What did you tell her about our business? I did not tell her anything. Oh, really? Then why was she suggesting salve for your bruises? Did you tell her? Did you tell her what I do to you? And while you were telling her, did you tell her that it's your fault? Edward, I told her nothing. I told her nothing about our life or what happens in this house. You remove that smirk from your face, or I'll give you something to smile about permanently. You have nothing to be happy about unless I give you reason. Speaking of, why don't you do what women are supposed to do and give me a son? Or are you not able to have children? The beautiful dresses that Edward had promised Zona became drab. High-necked garments that covered every inch of her skin. She looked like a widow as opposed to a bright, happy, beautiful wife of only 23. The social life that he had promised her, the parties, the traveling, it was all a lie. And the love that he had proclaimed for her on those moonlit walks by the river had become something dark and twisted that fed on fear and submission. Zona felt helpless. She began to write letters to her mother, and then she would tear them up and throw them away into the fire. Her mother had warned her many, many times before, and she hadn't listened. She had let her vanity take over. Then she started writing another letter. She was in a lot of pain. Edward had shoved her in the back with his boot because he said that supper was not delivered to the table fast enough. Her letters were full of desperate pleas for help, hidden between cheerful lies about married life. But unfortunately, Mary never received the letters. He monitored everything. All the correspondence, every letter, reading every word before he let it leave the house. One letter that Edward found would be Zona's undoing. The letter read, "My dearest mother," she wrote in this letter that never reached its destination. "It pains me to admit this, but I fear I made a terrible mistake. He is not the man that I thought I'd married. He speaks of his previous wives in such cold terms. He assaults me. There is nothing I can do to please him. I've tried to give him a son. Late at night, I hear him talking to someone that isn't there in his office. Please, if you receive this, send word that you need me home, please. I'm beginning to fear for my very life." But Edward found the letter before she could send it. And that night the neighbors heard raised voices, the sound of breaking glass, and then silence. A silence that seemed to stretch into the very soul of darkness. Edward was getting careless now. She would appear at the market with bruises on her arms and a scarf wound tight around her neck, despite the warm West Virginia weather. "What happened to you, honey? You look like you've been beaten." No, ma'am, I fell down the stairs," she explained when Miss Henderson asked about the marks. "So clumsy of me." But even as she said those words, her eyes told a different story. They spoke of terror, of desperation, of a woman trapped in a cage of her own making, with no way out. No way out. Except being unalived. Chapter 4, the final day. Another question. What drives a man to ultimate evil? January the 23rd, 1897. The day that would forever change the course of American justice, began like any other winter morning in Livesey's mill. Snow fell softly on the mountain peaks. The wind that blew off the top of the mountains was freezing. So cold that you felt as if you would never be warm again. Have you felt that kind of cold? And the air carried the scent of wood smoke and secrets. Edward Edward's shoe rose early, as was his custom, and stood at the window of their bedroom, watching his pathetic wife as she slept. In the pale morning light, Zona looked even younger than her 23 years. Her dark hair spread across the pillow like spilled ink. Edward shoved her on the shoulder. "Wake up," he said, his voice flat and emotionless. "I have business to attend in town today, and I noticed that you haven't stoked the fire in the kitchen. Why can't you just do what a wife is supposed to do?" "Edward, I just woke up and I have a terrible headache. Can you please not yell at me so early in the morning?" His cold stare was fixed upon her. His constant presence pressed down on her like a crushing weight. "Okay, I'm going to go downstairs and I'm going to stoke the fire and do what I need to do. And then what would you like me to do while you're gone?" she asked, sitting up and pulling the blanket close around her slender shoulders. Edward's smile was sharp as a knife's edge. "You'll do what a wife is supposed to do, Zona. And who gave you that name anyway? It's stupid." "You liked my name before. Did I?" "You'll clean the house. All of it. And you'll prepare my favorite supper. Beef stew with fresh biscuits. And I'm not talking about those little things you make. I mean the big ones. And I want fresh butter. I'll be back by evening. And I expect everything to be perfect. And if it isn't, well, it won't go well for you." But there was something different about Edward that morning. Something in his eyes that spoke of finality, of decisions made and plans set in motion. He dressed with particular care, choosing his best suit and adjusting his collar with the precision of a man preparing for an important occasion. "Get over here and straighten up my tie." Zona obediently did as Edward ordered. She straightened his tie, and then, as he was reaching for his coat, he turned halfway, not meeting her eyes. "Zona, let me ask you something." He very rarely wanted any of her opinions. "Do you ever think about passing?" I asked you a question. Tick, tick, tick. The question hung in the air like smoke from a funeral pyre. Zona felt ice form in her veins, but she forced herself to answer when he grabbed her wrist. I don't know how to answer that. I mean, no more than most people, I suppose. Why do you ask? I don't know. I've been thinking about my previous wives lately, about how peaceful that they looked at the end, how quiet that the house became afterward. Do you like quiet, Zona? I do. I don't like chatty, nosy women. He turned to face her, and for a moment she saw something in his expression that made her very soul shrivel. And you know what else? Do you know what else? What? There's something really beautiful about a woman who knows when to stop fighting. After he left, Zona sat on the edge of the bed for a long time, staring at the door through which he had disappeared. Every instinct screamed at her to run, to flee to her mother's house and never look back. But where could she go? In 1897, a woman's options were limited, and her husband's rights were absolute. And she was sure that if she did leave, he would unalive her. She spent that day cleaning as instructed. The house was spick and span from top to bottom, but her movements were mechanical, distracted. She couldn't explain it. She felt detached in a way that she never had before. Her mind kept returning to Edward's words, to look in his soulless black eyes, to the growing certainty. She knew it beyond a shadow of a doubt. Something terrible was about to happen. When evening approached and the sun had went down, Edward had not returned. Zona began to hope. Perhaps he had been delayed. Perhaps whatever darkness had been brewing in his mind had passed. Maybe she could be better. Maybe she could start over with him. Perhaps she would have another day, another chance to escape the trap that had become her life. But at 6:30, she heard his boots on the front porch, and Zona's heart sank like a thrown stone thrown into the deep water. She began to tremble. Edward entered the house like a storm gathering force, like he was going to snap at any moment. His eyes scanned the room with predatory intensity. He found fault with everything. The biscuits on the floor, the plates on the table, picked up and dumped in a bucket of water. The placement of the furniture, the temperature of the house, the way Zona had arranged the papers on his desk. felt herself shrinking beneath his look. You're just not the sharpest tool in the shed, are you, honey? You disappoint me, he said finally, his voice carrying the weight of a judge pronouncing sentence. I had hoped that you would prove different from the others. Edward, please. Backing away from him as he stalked toward her. I've done everything that you've asked. I have worked until my fingers have calluses and my nails bleed from scrubbing the floor. I've been a good wife to you. And I'm not going to let you sit there and act like I'm not, because I am. You are the monster, Edward Shue. And I regret the day that I married you. Have you now? His laugh was like breaking glass. Because a little birdie told me on the way home that you'd been planning to leave me. Just like the others tried to do. Is that true, Zona? Are you going to leave me? No, the accusation is false. There was no one that I've said that to. But Zona could see in his eyes that the truth no longer mattered. Whatever had been building in Edward's twisted mind had reached its crescendo, and she was powerless to stop what was coming. Another rumble of thunder in the background. What happened next would echo through the halls of justice for generations to come. But best, it would echo through the very gates of heaven and hell. Chapter 5, The Discovery. Question. What secrets does death reveal? The scream that shattered the morning stillness of January the 24th, 1897, came from young Andy Jones. He was an 11-year-old boy that Edward had sent to check on his wife after claiming that she was feeling poorly. She hasn't come down for breakfast, and I'm really worried about her. I'll tell you what, I'll give you a little bit of change if you go check on her. Sure, sir. Thank you. Good boy. So Andy ran down the dirt road to the house at the end of town, shrouded in darkness and shadows. He knocked on the door, and it opened. He opened it a little wider. Miss Shue? Miss Shue, your husband asked me to come and... Miss Shue? Andy's voice cracked with terror as he burst from the house, his face white as fresh snow. He screamed, attracting other people that were out walking that morning. She's not moving! She's not moving at all! Hush, boy, you're too loud. What is going on? Mr. Caper asked the young boy, He gripped his shoulders. She's laying at the bottom of the stairs, sir. Her eyes are wide open. All right, boy. The boy's cries brought more neighbors running, but Edward Shue was already there, kneeling beside his wife's body at the bottom of the stairs, cradling her head in his arms with such theatrical grief that it would have won applause on any stage. My darling Zona, he sobbed, his voice carrying across the gathering crowd. My poor sweet wife, what did you do? Edward, step back so we can help you. She must have fallen down the stairs. Oh God, why did you take her from me? But something was wrong with the scene. Something that made the mountain folk exchange troubled glances even as they offered their sympathies. She was so young. She had her whole life ahead of her. Oh, what a tragedy. Edward's grief seemed too practiced, too perfect, like a song that he had sung before. Mr. George Knapp, the doctor, arrived within the hour, his medical bag in hand and his face grim with the weight of his profession. He had delivered babies and treated broken bones, but death in one so young always left him shaken. No mother should have to bury her child. He knew Zona's mother, Mary, would fall apart. Let me examine her, Mr. Shue, he said gently, approaching the body. But Edward's arms tightened around his wife's form. No! He said sharply, then caught himself and softened his tone. I mean, she suffered enough. Can't you see she's gone? What more is there to examine? Mr. Shue, I know that this is difficult for you, but, well, I have to examine your wife's body. Dr. Knapp frowned. Edward would not let Zona's body go. In his 20 years of practice, he had never encountered a husband who refused to allow a proper examination of his deceased wife. Mr. Shue, I understand your grief, but I've got a job to do, and I must determine the cause of her passing for the official records. Now, if you could just step aside so I can do my job. Edward's face darkened. The cause is obvious, he replied, his voice taking on a dangerous edge. She fell down the stairs. Can't you see the position she's in? She clearly had an accident. The neighbors had begun to murmur among themselves. Miss Henderson, who had known Zona since childhood, stepped forward with tears in her blue eyes. Edward, she said softly, we need to prepare her body for funeral, and we still have to let her mother know. The women of the community will help. It's our way. I know that you're overtaken with grief. A couple of women that stood in the background examined Edward very closely. with their old eyes full of wisdom. Something wasn't right. No! Edward's response was immediate and absolute. I'll tend to Zona myself. She's my responsibility in death as she was in life. Now step back! The crowd fell silent. Never before had anyone heard of a husband refusing the traditional help of the community's women in preparing a body for burial. It was unthinkable, unnatural, and Miss Henderson thought deeply suspicious. Dr. Knapp waited a few more minutes, tried once more to approach, but Edward had already lifted Zona's body, carrying her upstairs to the bedroom with a strength that seemed almost supernatural. It was then, as the doctor was watching him ascend the stairs, that the scarf around her neck came loose. He only caught the briefest glimpse of the deceased woman's neck before Edward's broad shoulders blocked his view. Something wasn't right. That one glimpse was enough to plant the seeds of doubt that would grow into a harvest of terrible truth. For the next hour, Edward remained alone with his wife's body. They tried to knock on the door. He had locked it, claiming he was dressing her for the burial. When he finally emerged from the bedroom, Zona wore a high-neck dress with a scarf wound so tight around her throat, and her head resting at an odd angle that made several women in the crowd gasp. She looks beautiful, doesn't she? Edward said, his voice now calm and controlled. Peaceful. My sleeping beauty is sleeping. No kiss is gonna wake her up. But sleep had never been so still, so cold, so utterly devoid of the spark that made the beautiful Zona Hester shoo the vibrant young woman who had laughed like music and dreamed of a better life. The funeral was held 2 days later, with Edward playing the part of the grieving widower so perfectly that even the most suspicious neighbors began to question their doubts. He seemed so distraught. The poor man. They weren't married that long. Oh, this is so sad. She was so beautiful, had the voice of an angel. He sobbed at the graveside, threw dirt on the coffin with shaking hands, and spoke eloquently of his love for his departed Zona Hester. Yet as the mourners dispersed and the gravediggers filled in the hall, one person remained unconvinced. Mary Jane Hester, Zona's mother, stood at the edge of the cemetery long after the others had gone. Edward would not even allow her close to the grave. You hated me, so why would I let you come up here beside me? She should have lashed out, but she didn't have the energy. She was staring down at this fresh grave with eyes that burned with something deeper than grief. A light snowfall was drifting down. Crystalline shapes, not one exactly like the other. She lifted her black veil from her face. The wind howled through the trees. Soda, I know you didn't fall down those stairs, daughter. And I swear, on my own soul, I'm going to find out what happened to you. That is my solemn vow. The wind whistled through the graveyard. She had no idea that her daughter was already working on the same problem from the other side of the grave. Of course. Let's take a 10-minute intermission. Grab you a drink, snacks, and I shall return in 10 minutes with the remaining part of the Greenbrier Ghost. And if you like it, leave a comment. Also, thank you everyone who has gifted globally, to everyone who has liked and shared the live and shared to your FYP. You are absolutely amazing. I'll be right back. Thank you. absolutely love it but by like an hour and a half in, it is just squeezing so tightly. So I'll go back to this one here. Now, is everybody enjoying the story of the Greenbrier Ghost? Have you ever heard of it before? Oh, of course, little cat. So this was a lovely gift that I received from one of our night watchers, Leslie Marie. Just absolutely lovely. It is black. It's corseted. The back of it is lovely as well, and it is, I just love a corseted gown. The quality of it is absolutely amazing, if you can see it. It's full. And then, much to my surprise, it has pockets. I love pockets. Pockets on a gown. Absolutely lovely. And then there was this shawl that goes with it, and you can raise it up. This was also a gift from Leslie Marie. On YouTube, she's known as Leslie Grant. So she did good. It's lovely. Absolutely gorgeous. It's black, it's full, and it goes all the way to the floor. Eventually, we're really going to start working on my media space. I've just got some things that I've got to clear out, but I will have so much more room. So that is the gown. Very jewelry, very. Love it, love it, love it, love it. Hello, Ray Bab, how are you? Hey, Penny. Hey, Johnny, thank you for the heart. Magic Moon, hello. Oh, thank you, James. That's so sweet. Hey, and Marine's daughter. Hey, Danis, how are you? Hey, Janet Cookie. Oh, I love seeing you all in here. Twin Souls Paranormal, hello. Trying to see everyone here. Hey, Bonnie Sue. What did you think, little cat? So good to have you all in here. Oh, I love Taco Bell. Haven't had it in forever. Hello, Vet Billy. Vet Billy. Do you like scary stories? Grabbing popcorn, very good. So glad to have everyone back. Oh yeah, Miranda, are you close to the Greenbrier? Isn't there a big hotel there? Hello, Judy Still. Yes, spooky stories. Thank you, thank you. I wish I could wear that crown the whole show, but it is tough. All right. So good to see everyone in here. Oh my gosh, Danis, that is such a tragedy. Hey, Shell, how are you? Roxy, I went to Florida. We were in St. Augustine, Crescent Beach. Oh my goodness, so beautiful. Flagler Beach is also gorgeous. Absolutely loved it so much. All right, let's change up. the music. You know what? We could not find parking for the lighthouse. It was just slammed. And, you know, they were saying, you know, that it might die down, but we were already gone. Because I really wanted to visit it. Hello, Ebony Eyes. How are you? I'm so glad to be back too. Did I see Core Jesus Kid? If I did, hello. Hello, Amber Dowdy. How are you? If this is your first time here, my name is Bryn Morgan. I'm a horror author. I'm also a teller, a lover of scary stories, every category that you can imagine. If you are just coming in and you're brand new, let us know. If you are a silent night dweller, you just dwell in the shadows, come on in and say hello. This is a great family to be part of. This isn't just a live, it is a community, it is a family, and family is everything. Well, tell her that I missed her, James. Hello, Sandra Jefferson. So let us know that you're new, so that we can properly introduce ourselves. One of the things that I absolutely cannot stand is you are choosing this live to be in, and there are many on TikTok. Trust me, while I was on vacation, I saw many. But there were so many that I went in, never got a hello, never got a welcome. And one thing that my night dwellers and my night watchers and myself have done is we want to make everyone feel welcome. I'm humbled and honored that you chose to be here tonight. Hey, Lulu. Now, there are some that are very welcoming, but honestly, the majority of them are not. All right, with that being said, are you ready for the second part of the Greenbrier Ghost? Hello, lovely. Hey, Just Bethany, I had a great trip. Hello, Toxic, how are you? I love your name. So we will strive to make you feel welcome here. And I think that is what sets our community apart. We have people that have formed relationships, friendships, things that, you know, friendships that will last a lifetime. I am so glad that you do lucid dreams. Love it. Love you being here. All right. So probably many got up and went and got a snack or a drink. So let's get back into story time, shall we? If you are just joining us, I am the Night Queen. This is the Night Room. You are my night dwellers, and tonight I am telling the story of the Greenbrier Ghost. Now stay tuned tomorrow night, one of the favorite nights, True Crime, 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern. Wildlife, thank you for sharing the live. Thank you, thank you. Lower your lights. Lock your doors. Pull your curtains nice and tight. Although, what we're talking about now can walk through walls. Light a candle for ambiance. Let it cast those ghostly, wafting shadows down your stairs or up your stairwell. And let's begin. Question. I think I already know the answer to this, but how far will a mother go to seek justice for her child? I would go to the ends of the earth. Mary Jane Heaster had given birth to Zona 23 years ago, on a night when the wind howled like banshees, and the midwife crossed herself 3 times before entering the house. Mary Jane Hester was not normal, you see. A detail that just came to the surface. You see, Mary Jane Hester knew things, felt things. She had raised her daughter through fever and famine, alone, a single parent. She had raised her daughter through fever and famine, through the hardships of mountain life and the loneliness of widowhood. Mary Jane Hester, she had looks. She got them and gave them to her daughter. But nothing, absolutely nothing in this world had prepared her for the hollow ache of burying her own daughter. It was 3 days after the funeral. Miss Patterson had invited Mary over. They sat in the kitchen at her table. Something's not right. Something is not right. What are you talking about, Mary? Would you like some more tea? No, thank you. You know that intuition, Miss Patterson, when you know something's wrong. Why, yes, I suppose I do. A mother knows. She always knows. A mother feels it in her bones when a child has been wronged, her child, and I can't explain it. I can't explain it, but she voiced her thoughts aloud. He did it. What? Miss Patterson scooted her chair closer. She nodded sympathetically, but her words carried the weight of mountain wisdom. Mary Jane, her grief is a terrible thing, and it makes us see shadows where there aren't any. Your precious Ona fell down the stairs. It's tragic. I know it's tragic, but I'm telling you as a friend, accidents happen. Mr. Shu was beside himself with grief. Have you seen him? Accidents. Mary Jane's voice rose like a gathering storm. Don't you find it odd that man wouldn't let Dr. Knapp examine her properly? And not only that, but he dressed her body himself. Wound that scarf around my daughter's neck so tight it looked like a noose. And did you see how he kept moving her head during the service? Well, yes, I suppose I did. Don't you find that just a little odd? Like he was trying to keep it from falling off or something. Oh, Mary Jane. I'm so sorry, honey. The more that Mary Jane thought about it, the more convinced she became that her daughter had not died by accident. She began to investigate in her own way, talking to the neighbors, gathering whispers, and half-remembered conversations. She remembered the bruises. Mary Jane Hester began to do her own investigation. She walked around the neighborhood, the closest to the house where her daughter and her husband had lived. She knocked on the door. Who is it? Miss Anderson? It's Mary Jane Hester. I just wanted to speak with you for a couple minutes. Please. The door opened slowly. I don't know what I can tell you. I mean, well, you're the closest to Edward and Zona. You're just right beside them. Did you hear anything unusual that night? Any sounds from their house? Her eyes were pleading. Miss Anderson glanced around nervously before answering. Come in out of that rain. Have a seat here. I have some cake. Would you like some cake? And a cup of coffee? Yes, that's fine. Miss Anderson fixed the refreshments and the dessert and brought them in on a tray. Silver. She glanced around nervously before answering. I'm a good Christian woman, Miss Hester, but I can't lie. I didn't want to say anything before. Henry's always telling me that I need to mind my own business and keep my nose where it belongs, but there was shouting. Mary Jane took a sip of her coffee. It was around 9 o'clock. I heard voices raised in anger. It sounded like Edward and Zona. And then I just remembered there was silence. Complete silence. Mary Jane Hester set her china cup back in its saucer. What kind of shouting? I'm gonna get in trouble with Henry. I am such a gossip. I can't keep anything to myself. Please. A man's voice. Mostly. Deep and angry. This isn't the first time. Seemed like he was always yelling at your beautiful daughter. And then I remember something. A woman's scream that just stopped. Like someone had cut off her voice box. Mary Jane's heart clenched like a fist. to tell the sheriff. What was I going to say? That I heard a married couple arguing? That's not so unusual, Mary Jane. Sad to say, but Edward Shue is a respected man in this community. Who would believe the word of an old woman against his? Mary Jane began to visit other neighbors, collecting fragments of information like a woman gathering kindling for a fire. She learned that Edward had been married twice before, that he had revealed it himself. And he had also said that both of his wives had died under natural causes. But losing 2 wives back to back, and then a third, no. She went to the house of the banker and his wife, Mr. Wood. It wasn't him that revealed this information, it was his wife. She sat on the living room couch across from Miss Wood. I'm just gonna say it. Edward Shue was asking questions of my husband about Zona's inheritance from her father. I said it. Land sakes. I just didn't think that was right. But you didn't say anything. Mary Jane, don't raise your voice at me. I'm trying to help. Most disturbing of all, she learned that several people had seen Edward practicing his expression of grief in the days before Zona's unaliving. Miss Mays at the local mercantile store told Marianne, he did something that I thought was so peculiar. I shouldn't be telling this, but I'm gonna do it anyway. He was standing in front of the mirror, the one back there on the back wall. My husband picked it up all the way in England. It's a pretty good price. Would you be interested in that? I'm sorry, I shouldn't be selling. I guess it's just born in me. But anyway, I had just finished up with my last customer. And I looked toward the back. And it was almost, well, you would think that Edward had some kind of drama teaching, I guess. He was standing at the mirror and he would smile, and then he would frown, and then he would smile, and then he would frown. It was just like he was an actor preparing for a role. About that time, Mr. Baker, her son, walked in. I can vouch for what my mama just said. Tom, tell her. Well, I was putting out some canned goods on the back shelf, and I saw him myself. I thought it was kind of odd at the time, but figured maybe he was just a vain man who liked to check his appearance. He is a good-looking man. Mary Jane looked at the woman. But now, well, now that all this stuff is cropping up, now it kind of gives me the shivers. Armed with this information, Mary Jane went to Sheriff Peters, a man that she had known since he was a boy, pulling pranks in the church pews. She laid out her suspicions with the methodical precision of a woman who had spent her life solving problems and fixing what was broken. How are you, Miss Esther? I was so sorry to hear about your daughter. My wife and I weren't able to make it because, well, Amy, she came down with some kind of a flu. It's fine. Sheriff, I know how this sounds, she concluded. But I believe my daughter was unalived. I believe that Edward Shue, her husband, unalived her, just like he unalived his past 2 wives. Sheriff Peters leaned back in his chair, his weathered face creased with concern. Miss Hester, Mary Jane, if you'll permit me. Go ahead. I understand your grief. I do. But what you're suggesting is serious. Edward Shue is a respected member of this community. I can't do anything without some real evidence. You have evidence. I have the testimonies of neighbors who heard my daughter screaming the night that she was passed. I have the suspicious circumstances of its previous wives' deaths. Don't you find that odd, Sheriff? I have his refusal to allow a proper examination of my daughter's body, and I have a mother's intuition that something terrible happened in that house. Now you can say what you will. The sheriff was quiet for a long moment, staring out the window at the mountain peaks where snow gleamed like exposed bone. Finally he spoke. He shook its head. Even if I believed you, Miss Hester, and I'm not saying that I do, what would you have me to do, ma'am? The woman is buried. Her name was Zona. Ma'am, I'm not trying to put your daughter down. Edward Shue was planning to leave town. There's no crime to investigate. Mary Jane stood up, squared her shoulders. Then dig her up, she said with a voice like iron. Examine her body properly, Sheriff. Find out what really took my daughter. The suggestion hung in the air like smoke from a funeral pyre. In 1897, exhuming a body was just unusual. It was almost unthinkable. But Mary Jane Hester was not a woman to be dissuaded by convention or propriety. She had given birth to Zona. 15 hours of back-breaking labor. She had raised her, loved her, and now buried her. And come hell or high water, she was going to find out the truth about her passing, no matter what it cost. But even Mary Jane, with all her determination and suspicion, could not have imagined the ally she was about to gain in her quest for justice. An ally who knew the truth better than anyone, because she had lived it. I've been alive from it. I must now return from beyond the grave to tell it. Chapter 7, The Visitation. Question: what happens when the dead refuse to rest? It was on the fourth night after the funeral that Zona Hester Shue returned from the dead. Mary Jane had been lying in her bed, staring at the ceiling and listening to the wind howl through the mountains, like the voices of the damned. Sleep had become a stranger to her since her daughter's death, and this night seemed darker than all the others. The clock ticked in the hall. Her room became darker. A darkness so deep, so thick, that you could cut it with a knife. A darkness so complete, it felt like being buried alive. Mary continued to lay in the bed. And then she felt the temperature in the room begin to drop. At first, Mary Jane thought it was just the mountain cold creeping through the walls. But this was different. A cold that seemed to come beyond the mortal world. A chill that seemed to settle into the very marrow of her bones and made her teeth chatter like castanets. The air itself began to shimmer. Prisms of gold light coming from the fireplace, but not from the fireplace. Wavering like heat waves rising from summer pavement, but cold. So cold that Mary Jane's breath came out in white puffs, despite the fire in the fireplace. And then she saw her. The sparks, the prisms of golden light, began to twirl like a tornado, but gentle, soft. She wasn't afraid. Zona appeared at the foot of her bed, translucent and glowing with an inner golden light that was both beautiful and terrible to behold. Her daughter's face was pale as moonlight. Her dark hair floated around her head as if she were underwater. But it was her eyes that made Mary Jane's heart stop. White, milky, eyes filled with such sadness, such desperate urgency, that they seemed to hold all the sorrow of the world. Zona whispered, her voice like the wind through autumn leaves. I need you to listen to me. words were grotesque, but they were pinned right on her. Mary Jane sat up straighter in the bed, her hands trembling as she reached toward the apparition. So, baby, is that really you? I don't have much time. I need you to listen to me very carefully. Her voice was flat, monotone. Yes, Mama. I've come back because there's something you need to know. Something you need to do. Can I touch you? No. The spirit of Zona Hester Shue began to speak, and her words painted a picture of horror that made Mary Jane's blood run cold. She told of Edward's increasing violence, of his threats and his rages, of the way he had spoken of his previous wives with such casual cruelty. I should have listened to you. I'm sorry. He unalived them, Mama, Zona said, her ghostly form flickering like a candle in the wind. Both of them. And he unalived me too. I knew it. How? Did he push you down the stairs? Zona's spirit raised her ethereal hands to her neck, and Mary Jane saw the terrible truth written in the gesture. He choked me. Here. And here. He put his hands around my throat and squeezed until I couldn't breathe. Till I couldn't scream, until everything went black. The ghost head began to turn, terrifying Mary Jane, rotating slowly and impossibly, revealing the full extent of the damage done to her mortal form. Snapped it like a twig. Then he arranged my body at the bottom of the stairs and played the grieving husband. Mary Jane felt her heart aching all over again with this reveal. But this time it was tempered with something stronger than grief. A rage so pure and white hot it could have melted steel. Why? Why did he do this to you? Because I found out about the others, the ghost replied, her voice growing fainter as the visitation began to wane. The sparks and the prisms of light began to fade. I found letters hidden in his things. Letters from the families of his previous wives, asking questions about their daughter's death. He knew that I would expose him. So he silenced me the only way he knew how. The spirit began to fade more, but her voice grew stronger, more urgent. What do you want me to do? You have to stop him. Mama, he's planning to leave town and find another wife, another victim. If you don't act soon, he'll unalive another woman. What can I do? What can I do? Mary Jane cried out, reaching for her daughter's disappearing form. Who will believe me? Who will listen to the rantings of a grieving old mother? And then amazingly, Zona reappeared at the side of the bed. She leaned down. Make them dig up my body. Zona's voice commanded. Her form began to fade again, barely visible. Okay. Make them examine my neck. The truth is written in my bones, Mother. The truth is there for anyone who dares to look. I'll do it. I'll do exactly as you said. Will you come back to me? No. I love you, Mama. I've always loved you. But I cannot rest until justice is done. Promise them. Zona's voice was louder then. Promise me you'll make them see. Promise me you'll make them believe. I promise, Donna. I promise I will do it. Thank you. Donna, please don't leave me again. And then she was gone, leaving only the lingering scent of jasmine and the absolute certainty that Mary Jane Hester was about to embark on a battle that would shake the very foundations of justice itself. For 3 more nights, Mary Jane waited, thinking that she saw the prisms of light again. But she didn't. Mary Jane had memorized every word, every gesture, every piece of testimony her daughter's spirit had provided, and she could not get out of her head the milky, vacant eyes, the broken neck. When morning came, Mary Jane rose from the bed like a woman possessed by righteous fury. She dressed in her finest black dress, pinned her hair with stern precision, and set out for the sheriff's office with the determination of a woman who had spoken to the dead and lived to tell the tale. Sheriff Peters was about to discover that some forces in this world and the next are not to be trifled with. Chapter 8. The body is exhumed. Question. What horrors lie buried within the dead? Sheriff Peters looked up from his morning coffee to find Mary Jane Hester standing in his doorway like an avenging angel, her eyes blazing with such intensity that he nearly dropped his cap. "Mary Jane," he said cautiously, "what brings you here so early, ma'am?" Her eyes had dark circles beneath them, her hair unwashed, her hands trembling. "My daughter came to me last night," she announced without preamble. "She visited me and she told me exactly how Edward Shue had unalived her." The sheriff's eyebrows rose nearly to his hairline. "Mary Jane, I've got to put a stop to this. I think your grief might be..." "Don't!" Her voice cut through his words like a blade. "Don't you dare tell me about grief. I know what I know. I saw what I saw. I know what she told me, and I know what you're going to do about it. Now open the door wider and let me in." The sheriff stood back. I let her pass. For the next hour, Mary Jane recounted every detail of her daughter's visitation with the precision of a woman who had committed each and every word to memory. She spoke of Edward's violence, his threats, his method of unaliving, and most importantly, the evidence that would be found if they examined Zona's body properly. "Mary Jane, I don't... Have you ever had one of your children to visit you at night? I'll never get those white eyes out of my memory. Or the way her neck was snapped like a twig. She said that the truth is written in her bones. All you have to do is just look." Sheriff Peters sat in silence for a long moment, studying the woman before him. Mary Jane Hester was known throughout the county as a practical, no-nonsense woman who had never been given to flights of fancy or dramatic storytelling. For some reason, if she had said that she'd seen her daughter's ghost, then she believed it with every fiber of her being. The sheriff stood up and paced back and forth across the wooden floor. "Let's say, even if I believed you," he said finally. "Ma'am, getting permission to exhume a body is no simple matter. I'll need evidence, witnesses, a compelling reason to disturb your daughter's rest. Just leave her be, Miss Hester." She ignored that comment. "Then I'll give you witnesses," Mary Jane replied. "Talk to Miss Anderson about the screaming that she heard. Talk to Tom Baker about Edward practicing his grief in the mirror. Talk to the people about his previous wives and their suspicious passings." Over the following days, Sheriff Peters did exactly that. He interviewed neighbors, gathered statements, and slowly built a case that painted Edward Shue in an increasingly sinister light. The more he investigated, the more convinced he became that Mary Jane's suspicions might indeed be justified. The breakthrough came when he received a telegram from the sheriff in Pocahontas County, where Edward's first wife had passed. The message was brief, but damning. E. Shu, under suspicion here too. His first wife died violently. No charges filed due to lack of evidence. Advise caution. Armed with the information and the growing weight of circumstantial evidence, Sheriff Peters petitioned the court for permission to exhume Zona's body. The judge was a stern man named Harrison, who had presided over the county's legal affairs for 20 years. He was an expert. And he was initially skeptical. This is highly irregular, Judge Harrison said, reviewing the petition. Let me get this straight. We're exhuming a body based on the dreams of a grieving mother. That's not exactly a standard legal procedure. Sheriff Peters gulped. It's not dreams, Your Honor. It's a pattern of suspicious unalivings, witness testimony, and a mother's determination to see justice done. At the very least, we owe it to the deceased to conduct a proper examination. Why wasn't this done on her passing? He wouldn't allow it. The gavel pounded. The judge granted the petition, and the examination was scheduled for February the 22nd, 1897, exactly 1 month after Zona's passing. Word of the decision spread through the community like wildfire, dividing neighbors between those who supported Mary Jane's quest for truth and those who thought it would be a desecration of the dead. Edward Shu, meanwhile, yes, Edward Shu had been preparing to leave town when news of the exhumation reached him. His reaction was swift and telling. He hired a lawyer, protested the decision vehemently, and began making up arrangements to flee the state of West Virginia. This is an outrage, he declared to anyone who would listen. My poor wife has been laid to rest, and now they want to disturb her eternal peace? Based on the fantasies of a disturbed old woman? It's unconscionable. But his protest fell on increasingly deaf ears. The community had begun to turn against him, whispering about his strange behavior, his refusal to allow a proper examination, his suspicious past. 2 days later, the shovels hit dirt. On the morning of February the 22nd, a crowd gathered at the cemetery as the gravediggers began their grim work. Mary Jane stood at the edge of the crowd, her face a mask of steely determination, while Edward paced back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, like a caged animal. His lawyer whispering urgent advice in his ear. You should calm down, Mr. Shu. It makes you look bad. Just let them do their job. And Dr. Knapp was there with his medical bag, finally getting the chance to conduct the examination he had been denied a month earlier. 2 other doctors had been called in to assist, ensuring that the findings would be thorough and unimpeachable. When the coffin was finally raised from the earth, it seemed to carry with it the weight of all the secrets that had been buried within. The lid was opened, and even after a month in the ground, Zona's body was remarkably well preserved, almost as if death itself had been waiting for the moment of revelation. There was a collective gasp from the crowd as the doctors found when they examined her neck would change the course of American legal history forever. They unwound the scarf. He examined her neck. This wasn't an accident. What did you say, Dr. Knapp? This wasn't an accident. The truth that Zona's spirit had promised was indeed written in her bones, carved there by violence and waiting to be discovered by those brave enough to look. Justice, it seemed, was about to be served from beyond the grave. Dr. Knapp's hands trembled as he carefully examined Zona's small neck, his trained eyes taking in details that made his stomach churn. There was no way she had did that to herself. The other physicians crowded around, their faces growing pale as the evidence revealed itself. After the examination was over, Dr. Knapp put his utensils back in his bag. Gentlemen, Dr. Knapp said in a voice that carried across the silent cemetery, this woman did not die from a fall down the stairs. He pointed to the unmistakable fingers around Zona's throat, the crushed windpipe, the vertebrae that had been snapped with such force that bone fragments had pierced the surrounding tissues. Most damning of all, her neck had been broken completely, twisted so violently that her head could be turned completely around. The sheriff walked closer to Dr. Knapp. Well, she was strangled, Dr. Knapp announced, his voice ringing with professional certainty. This poor girl was manually strangled with such force that her neck was broken. This is murder, gentlemen. Cold-blooded, premeditated murder. The crowd gasped and murmured, and Edward Chu's face went white as fresh snow. His lawyer grabbed his arm, whispering urgently about leaving immediately. But Edward seemed frozen in place, staring at his wife's exhumed body as if seeing a ghost. Which, in a way, he was. Mary Jane Hester stepped forward, her voice carried across the cemetery like a pronouncement from on high. My daughter told me the truth. She came back from the dead to make sure justice was done. And now you all can see she didn't lie. Within hours, Edward Chu was arrested and charged with the unaliving of his wife. The evidence was overwhelming, the medical testimony unrefutable, but the real sensation was yet to come. for Mary Jane Hester was about to make legal history by becoming the first person to testify about communication with the dead in an American court of law. Dr. Knapp's hands trembled as he carefully examined Zona's neck, his trained eyes taking in details. He walked over. You were right. He did. The sheriff put her hand on Mary Jane's shoulder. I'm so sorry. Chains rattled as Edward was led away. Be sure your sins will find you out. The ghost of Zona Hester Shue had spoken, and her words would echo through the halls of justice for generations to come. Chapter 9, The Trial of the Century. Another question. How does one defend against testimony from beyond the grave? The trial of Edward Shue began on June the 22nd, 1897, in the Greenbrier County Courthouse, a building that had seen many cases of theft, assault, and even murder, but never one where the star witness was a ghost. The courtroom was packed beyond capacity. It was hot and stifling, with people standing in the aisles and crowding around the windows outside. Word of the case had spread throughout West Virginia and beyond, drawing newspaper reports, curiosity seekers, and those who simply had to witness history in the making. Hear, hear, the court is now in session. The judge sat down and pounded his gavel to stop the whispering. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, began Prosecutor Preston, a man whose reputation for thoroughness was matched only by his flair for dramatic presentation. You are about to hear testimony in the most extraordinary murder case in the history of American jurisprudence. He paced before the jury box like a predator stalking prey, his voice rising and falling with practiced precision. The defendant, Edward Shue, is a man who made a career of marrying young women and unaliving them for their property. He's done it twice before, and he would have gotten away with it for a third time, if not for a mother's love that transcended death itself. Edward sat at the defense table. His lawyer, a nervous man named Collins, who had been hired from Charleston, whispering urgent strategies in his ear. But Edward Shue seemed detached from the proceedings, his eyes constantly scanning the courtroom, as if searching for something only he could see. Whispers came from above in the gallery. The prosecution's case was methodical and damning. They presented the medical evidence first, with Dr. Knapp taking the stand to describe in graphic detail the injuries that he had found during the exhumation of her body. Dr. Knapp, tell us what you found. Well, the victim's windpipe was completely crushed. Dr. Knapp testified, his voice despite the horrific nature of his testimony. Did y'all hear that? The victim's hand wipe, sorry y'all, was completely crushed. Please continue. Her neck had been broken so severely that her head could be turned completely around. Did you hear that? Her head could be turned completely around. And would you say that these injuries are absolutely inconsistent with the fall down the stairs, Doctor? Yes, I would. They are, however, entirely consistent with manual strangulation followed by a violent twisting of the neck. Did y'all hear that? Did you hear that? No further questions, Dr. Knapp. Next came the neighbors, each adding another piece to the puzzle of that terrifying night. Miss Anderson testified about the screaming she had heard, followed by the sudden, unnatural silence. Tom Baker described Edward's strange behavior in the days before and after Zona's death, including his suspicious practice sessions in front of the mirror. Did y'all hear that? That man over there was practicing in front of the mirror. My. But the moment everyone had been waiting for came when Mary Jane Hester was called to the stand. The courtroom fell silent. Thank you for being here today, Miss Hester. It's Easter. Prosecutor Preston cleared his throat. Please tell the court about the communications you received from your deceased daughter. The defense attorney leaped to his feet. Objection, Your Honor! This is preposterous! We cannot allow testimony based on alleged conversations with a ghost! No one laughed. Judge Harrison considered for a long moment, the weight of legal precedent heavy on his shoulders. And then he turned. The witness may proceed, he ruled finally. The jury will give such testimony whatever weight they deem appropriate. Mary Jane straightened in the witness chair, her voice clear and unwavering as she recounted Zona's visit. She described her daughter's appearance, the specific details about the murder, and most importantly, the spirit's urgent plea for justice. Can you tell us what words that she spoke? Well, she told me exactly how he unalived her. Mary Jane testified, her eyes never leaving the jury. She was cool as a cucumber. She said that he choked her, and then he broke her neck to make sure she was dead. Are you all right? Do you need to take a break? No, I'm fine, she said. He arranged her body at the bottom of the stairs, and she said she saw him practice his grief, like an actor rehearsing a part as he knelt down beside her. Edward shifted uncomfortably. The defense tried desperately to discredit Mary Jane's testimony, suggesting she was a grief-stricken woman whose imagination had run wild. But her calm demeanor, the specific details that she provided, and most damning of all, the fact that her visions had led to the discovery of concrete medical evidence, made her testimony powerfully convincing. Miss Hester, defense attorney Collins said during cross-examination, I'm sorry for your daughter's passing. I really, really am. He leaned closer to Mary Jane. But come on now. Do you really expect this jury to believe that your daughter returned from the afterlife to solve her own murder? Is that what you're saying? Mary Jane's response would become legendary in legal circles. I don't expect anything, sir. I'm simply telling you what happened. My daughter came to me because she couldn't rest while her unaliver walked free. She gave me the truth, and that truth has been proven by medical evidence. Whether you believe it or not doesn't change the facts. When Edward himself took the stand in his own defense, even the attorney suggested he did not. His performance was far less convincing than his practiced grief had been at the funeral. Under aggressive questioning, he contradicted himself repeatedly, showed flashes of the violent temper that had cost Zona her life, and most tellingly seemed unable to explain why he had been so adamant about preventing a proper examination of his wife's body. I was grieving, he insisted when pressed about his suspicious behavior. You know, a man in grief doesn't always act rationally. No, Mr. Shue, you seemed quite rational when you were asking about your wife's property inheritance. Prosecutor Preston countered. Oh, yeah. We know. And quite rational when you were making plans to leave town immediately after the funeral of your wife. The trial lasted for 3 days, but the jury's deliberation took less than an hour. When they returned to the courtroom, their faces told the story before the foreman even spoke. A man stood. We find the defendant, Edward Stribling Shue, guilty of murder in the first degree. The courtroom erupted in cheers and applause. Edward's face crumpled, and for the first time since Zona's passing, his emotions seemed genuine. Not the terror of losing his wife, but the terror of a man who had finally been caught. Judge Harrison sentenced Edward Shue to life in prison, noting in his remarks that while the case had unusual elements, the medical evidence was clear and convincing beyond the shadow of a doubt. As Edward was led away in chains, many in the courtroom swung. They swore they felt a sudden warmth fill the air, as if a great weight had been lifted from the world. Mary Jane Hester sat in the front row, tears streaming down her face. Not tears of grief this time, but tears of vindication and relief. Her daughter's spirit had spoken. Justice had been served, and the dead could finally rest in peace. Chapter 10, The Legacy of the Greenbrier Ghost. Final chapter. Edward Stribling Shue died in prison 3 years later, taking with him the secrets of other victims and the full extent of his monstrous crimes. But the case of Greenbrier Ghost lived on, becoming legend, precedent, and proof that some forces in this universe are stronger than death itself. The story spread far beyond the mountains of West Virginia, appearing in newspapers, across the country and eventually around the world. Legal scholars debated the implications of allowing testimony based on supernatural communication, while spiritualists hailed it as a validation of their beliefs about life after death. In the years that followed, Mary Jane Hester became something of a celebrity. Though she never sought the attention, people came from hundreds of miles away to hear her tell the story of her daughter's return from beyond the grave. She always told it the same way. Never changed a word. Simply direct, without embellishment or drama. Zona came back because she couldn't rest, she would say. I believe that a mother's love called to her, and a daughter's love answered. Justice needed to be done, and my baby girl made sure that it was. The case established legal precedent that stands to this day. The only time in American jurisprudence that testimony about communication with the dead had been admitted in a murder trial. Law schools still study this case, not for its supernatural elements, but for the way it demonstrated how unconventional evidence can lead to conventional justice. But perhaps the most important legacy of the Greenbrier Ghost is what it teaches us about the power of persistence, the strength of a mother's love, and the terrible price of believing that some crimes can be hidden forever. Today, visitors still come to the cemetery in Livesay's Mill, now called the Sandblack Cemetery, to see Zona's grave. The headstone is simple, bearing only her name and dates, but locals say that on certain nights, especially when the moon is dark and the wind carries the scent of jasmine, you can still feel her presence there. Not as a tormented spirit seeking justice, but as a peaceful soul finally at rest, knowing that her sacrifice ensured no other woman would suffer at the hands of Edward Shue. The case also inspired changes in how suspicious deaths were investigated in West Virginia and beyond. No longer could a husband simply refuse to allow proper examination of his deceased wife's body. The rights of the dead and those who loved them were strengthened by Zona's ghostly testimony. Mary Jane Hester lived for many more years, always maintaining that her daughter had indeed returned from the dead to seek justice. She never wavered in her story, never added dramatic details for effect, never sought one penny from her experience. Until the day she died, she insisted that love, a mother's love and a daughter's love, had proven stronger than death itself. Scientists and skeptics have offered various explanations for Mary Jane's visions over the years. Some suggest they were grief-induced hallucinations that happened to align the truth. Others propose that her subconscious mind had pieced together clues she had observed but not consciously processed. But those explanations miss the deeper truth of the Greenbrier Ghost case. Sometimes when conventional channels of justice fail, extraordinary measures become necessary. Whether Zona's spirit literally returned, and I believe it did, or whether her mother's love and determination manifested in ways that led to the truth, the result was the same. An unaliver was stopped. Justice was served, and other potential victims were saved. The case reminds us that evil often hides behind charming smiles and practiced grief. And predators count on their victims' silence and society's willingness to just simply look the other way. Edward Shue had unalived before, and he would have unalived again. But he hadn't counted on the fierce love of a mountain woman who refused to let her daughter's murder go unavenged. In the end, the Greenbrier Ghost case stands as testament to several truths. That justice delayed is not always justice denied. That the dead sometimes refuse to stay buried when their stories remain untold. And that a mother's love, whether channeled through unstoppable determination, can move mountains, change laws, and bring down unalivers who thought themselves untouchable. The mountains of West Virginia still echo Zona's story on dark nights when the wind howls through the valleys. But now it's not a cry for help. It's a warning to those who would harm the innocent and a comfort to those who seek justice against impossible odds. For in the case of the Greenbrier Ghost, the dead did speak, and their words changed everything. And so, my beloved night dwellers, we reached the end of our journey into the shadows of truth. The story of Zona Hester Shue, the Greenbrier Ghost, stands alone in the annals of American justice as proof that some bonds cannot be broken by death. Oh no. Some truths cannot be buried with the dead. And some love transcends even the grave itself. As you return from the night realm to your own world, carry with you the lessons of this tale. That while evil often wears a charming mask, that justice sometimes requires extraordinary courage, and that the voices of the silenced will find a way to be heard, one way or the other. Remember Mary Jane Hester, a mountain woman of West Virginia whose love for her daughter gave her the strength to challenge the very boundaries between life and death. Remember Zona, whose spirit refused to rest until her killer faced justice. And remember that in this world, and perhaps in the next, truth has a way of rising to the surface, no matter how deeply it's buried. The Greenbrier Ghost reminds us that some stories are too powerful to remain untold, some secret too dark to stay hidden, and some love too strong to be conquered by death itself. Until we meet again in the shadows, my night dwellers. Sleep well, if you can. For now you know that even in death, the innocent may return to seek justice, and that the guilty can never truly escape the consequences of their crimes. Yes. The dead, after all, have all the time in the world. Well, that time is upon us. The time to go to bed. when you're sleeping in your bed. Those cute little dreams that you have are going to change to nightmares. And just remember then the darkest corners of your nightmares. You belong to me. You do.